afternoon. Welcome to LawSikho's thorough newspaper analysis for 10th August 2023. Starting with the today's agenda, we'll start with editorial section, Should Age of Consent be Revised in India, from The Hindu, followed by the news update, including national news, international news, important dates, awards and sports, and lastly, the legal news update. Now, the detailed portion of the editorial section, Should Age of Consent be Revised in India? First of all, let us talk about what's the issue. Recently, while hearing an appeal, the Honorable Bombay High Court said that it is a high time India considered reducing the age of consent of sex. The court pointed out that after the enactment of the Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act of 2012, many adolescents are being prosecuted for consensual relationship with minor girls. Now, the question that arises with this approach is before any such steps are taken, important factor like cognitive capacity, psychosocial maturity, and emotional development have to be considered. Another important question that arises here is whether the authorities can force a person to raise complaints if they are not interested in pursuing the same. There have been instances where girl has turned hostile after being brought into the court and this resulting in an acquittal. Now, the question which has arisen before the court is the age of consent prior to the enactment of POCSO was 16 in the Indian Penal Code, but cases were still being registered. Even then, it does not take away from the fact that if the victim's testimony gives confidence to the court, irrespective of the age of consent, the court will go with that evidence. The competency to give consent is also fluid and would vary from case to case. One way to integrate this into codified law is to have different ages of consent for different kinds of activity. It is important to have certain guidelines and measures of accountability in place. This, in combination with a fluid understanding of the age of consent, could probably be a first step. It is also important to ensure before filing of the FIR, that is, first information report, that there was consensual relationship and then proceed with it accordingly. Now, starting with the national news of the Mumbai NITIE to become IIM-Mumbai, first in country's financial capital, with both the houses of parliament giving their nod to Indian Institute of Management Amendment Bill 2023. In the ongoing monsoon session, the National Institute of Industrial Engineering, that is NITIE, will be officially getting the new title of Indian Institute of Management Mumbai. The bill will make NITIE join the illustrious family of globally renowned IIMs. India's proposed 21st Indian Institute of Management is offering management pedagogy of global stature since its inception in 1963. This announcement comes as good news during the year when the institute is celebrating its Diamond Jubilee year. Coming up to the next national news of the day, Center to look into Havana Syndrome in India. The central government has told the Karnataka High Court that it will look into the matter of Havana Syndrome in India. This in light of the petitioner approaching the Karnataka High Court requesting a writ of mandamus for an inquiry on Havana Syndrome in India and the prevention of high frequency microwave transmission in India. Havana syndrome refers to a set of mental health symptoms that are said to be experienced by US intelligence and embassy officials in various countries. The National Academy of Sciences state the same occurs due to pulsed and directed microwaves. Now, coming up to the next national news, Defense Ministry to switch to locally built OS Maya amid threats. In a bold move, the Ministry of Defense is in the new era by bidding farewell to the vulnerable Microsoft operating system cross internet connected devices. In its stead, a robust and indigenous operating system named Maya has emerged, built upon the bedrock of open source Ubuntu. The transition to Maya brings with it a seamless user experience akin to the familiar Windows interface. According to reports, the changeover is set to be completed by August 15, starting with the installation of Maya in the South Block, a testament to the ministry urgency and commitment to cyber resilience. Coming up to the next national news of the day, Dharmendra Pradhan releases Empowering India Ideas for Action by Scientists and Engineers book. Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan has released a book Empowering India Ideas for Action by Scientists and Engineers, authored by Professor T. Pradeep, a Padam Shri awardee and Institute Professor, Department of Chemistry, IIT Madras, and Mr. Krishnan Narayanan, President, IIT and Research and Digital. IIT Madras faculty and alumnus have authored the book exploring ideas about what the leading research and educational institutions should do for India 100 years of independence. The book has been published by Indian Academy of Sciences and is a part of IIT Madras Alumni Association thought leadership activities. Over 100 scientists, including 40 alumni of IIT Madras, have shared their inputs for the book. The proceeds from the book sales would be contributed towards the cause of science through the academy. The national news coming up next is Japanese law firm TNY Legal is set to open its offices in India. The TNY Legal is said to become the first Japanese law firm to establish an office in India, almost 5 months after the country opened its domestic legal market to foreign players. The India office will focus on advising Japanese multinationals with their Indian businesses, particularly on regulatory investigation, liaising with government authorities for permits and licenses, corporate mergers and acquisition advisory, contract drafting, labor disputes, intellectual property, and dispute resolution. TNY Legal is setting up an Indian office in Gurugram, a city which shares its border with the capital New Delhi and has emerged as a business hub for the country, housing many multinational companies. The next national news coming up is ADGS Paramesh appointed as Additional Director General Coast Guard at Coast Guard Headquarters in New Delhi. Commander Eastern Seaboard Mr. S. Paramesh has been appointed as Additional Director General Coast Guard at Indian Coast Guard Headquarters, New Delhi. The flag officer was at the helm of Coast Guard Region East, Coast Guard Region West, and Coast Guard Commander Eastern Seaboard before assuming Additional Director General Coast Guard. The next national news, Wrestling Under 17 World Championship 2023, led by Savita's Gold, India and campaign with 11 medals. Savita clinched the lone gold as Indian wrestlers collected 11 medals in the World Under 17 Championship, which conducted in Istanbul. The Greco-Roman wrestlers secured 2 silver and bronze medals apiece, while the freestyle wrestlers got 2 silvers. Coming up to the international news of the day, PayPal becomes first major fintech to launch dollar-backed stablecoin. Payments giant PayPal said it has launched a US dollar stablecoin, becoming the first major financial technology firm to embrace digital currencies for payment and transfers. While stablecoins, crypto tokens whose monetary value is pegged to a stable asset to protect from wild volatility, have been around for years now. They are yet to successfully make headway into the mainstream consumer payments ecosystem. The EU's policies regarding stablecoin will come into force in June 2024. The next international news is about International Day of the World's Indigenous People. The International Day of the World Indigenous People is observed on 9th August each year to raise awareness and protect the rights of the world's indigenous population. This event also recognizes the achievements and contribution that indigenous people make to improve world issues such as environmental protection. In December 1992, the General Assembly of the United Nations adopted a resolution to make 1993 the International Year of the World Indigenous People. The International Day of the World Indigenous People was first pronounced by the UN General Assembly in December 1994 to be celebrated every year during the first international decade of the World Indigenous People. The legal update. is coming from Honorable Supreme Court. Threatening a person to withdraw FIR complaint or settle dispute will not attract offence under Section 195A of the Indian Penal Code. The Supreme Court observed that threatening a person to withdraw a complaint or FIR or settle dispute would not attract Section 195A of the Indian Penal Code. In appeal, the Apex Court noted that if any individual is threatened with any injury to his person, reputation, or property, and such threats are administered with intent to cause that person to give false evidence, the same would constitute an offence under Section 195A of the Indian Penal Code, which was held in Shalu versus State of Uttar Pradesh. The last legal update for the today's TNA is though nationalized bank employee is public servant, protection under Section 197 CRPC not available. The Honorable Supreme Court has observed that the protection under Section 197 CRPC is not available to a person working in nationalized bank. Section 197 CRPC is attracted only in cases where the public servant is such who is not removable from his service save by or with the sanction of government. The Honorable Bench of Justices B.R. Gavai and J.B. Pardiwala said, in the case of A. Srinivasa Reddy versus Rakesh Sharma. Thank you so much. Do subscribe the channel.